It is jumper and beanie weather here in Australia now, at least for the next week until it goes back to being hot as I think it looks a little bit better with the backlight on. What do you guys think? What is up, guys? It's Mitch here. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, congratulations. Here's some golf claps for you for finding my channel. I make photography and filmmaking videos, and I also occasionally get my microphone in the shot on these videos, so we're just gonna go and fix that up. Today I'm taking a look at the RF 35mm 1.8 lens from Canon. I'm really excited about this one because it's actually the first RF prime lens that I've been able to take out and test with my EOS R on a real shoot. I was able to take the 35 out on a golden hour portrait shoot with my friend Noff, and we're able to get some really nice images. I really love the 35mm focal length as like a standard walk around lens over something like a 50, which I know a lot of people will consider a standard lens, just because it's a little bit more versatile. You can pull in a little bit more of the background. So I really love it for fashion, portrait, and wedding photography as well. I want to say a special thank you to DigiDirect in Brisbane. They actually loaned me the 35mm and trusted me with it for the day. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. I'll leave their link in the description down below. I'm going to roll some behind the scenes footage that I was able to get, as well as obviously showing you guys the images throughout the shoot. I did also bring with me the Tamron 35mm 1.4 SP lens, which is an EF mount, and that's like my go-to 35 at the moment. So I thought it'd be interesting to compare those two lenses and see how they compare on image quality, focus speed, usability, all that interesting stuff that we care about as photographers. I'll be sharing my thoughts on the lens, what it was like using it, what I like about it, as well as who I think it's for. I want to talk briefly about the size and weight of this lens because I think it is notable. One thing that I thought was really interesting was the size of the front element, which is actually a lot smaller than I was expecting. Not many fast aperture prime lenses have a front element this small, and as you can see compared to the Tamron, there's a huge difference. The Canon is 305 grams, which is even lighter than the EF 35mm f2 IS, and a whole lot lighter than my Tamron 35mm 1.4, which is 815 grams, almost a kilo. The lens is also a really compact design, so this is obviously a major plus, you know, given the weight, if you travel a lot, or if you just like to keep a lightweight setup with your equipment. So here's something that I always test with a new lens, which is shooting into bright backlight. I do love the occasional lens flare as well. So here are some photos I shot with the RF 35 and the Tamron directly into the sun behind our model. And as you can see, the Tamron controls the flares really well. There is some slight flaring in some of the photos, which I think looks nice. The RF lens, on the other hand, well, it flares a lot. I was actually super surprised. I like flares, as I said, but in my opinion, these are quite ugly. The flares are not subtle and really nice looking like they are on the Tamron. But this is up to your taste. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Focusing speed. So this is one thing that I was actually really surprised about. The RF 35mm 1.8, given that, you know, it's a native lens, it's new technology, it's also got the STM motor in there, it wasn't actually as fast as I thought it would be. And comparing it to the adapted Tamron lens, I didn't really notice a massive advantage in terms of focus speed or accuracy. Even in video mode, I didn't really notice a big difference between the speed or accuracy of the focus tracking with the dual pixel autofocus between the adapted lens and the RF lens. For macro shots, I prefer a focal length somewhere between 50 and 100 100mm. Getting a close-up macro shot with a 35mm, you have to put the lens really close to the subject, and it's always going to cause problems with blocking your lighting if your lighting's coming from behind you, which a lot of the time it is. It's just not an ideal situation. Also, I think that a wide angle lens like a 35 pulls in just a little bit too much background for a macro shot, because you think about a macro shot, you really want to focus in on that subject and you want the background to kind of be less relevant. I mean, it is a unique look, it is a little bit different, but to me, I just would prefer a longer focal length. For that reason, I don't really see the macro capability of the RF 35 to be a massive selling point of this lens. Talking about sharpness, you can probably guess that the RF lens is amazing. I don't think Canon would have gone and created a whole new mirrorless system with a new mount just to bring out subpar lenses. Fantastic image quality in their lenses is obviously something we've come to expect from Canon now, and the RF 35 definitely lives up to that expectation. However, comparing it to the Tamron 35 1.4, the Tamron is a little bit better. I think that's to be expected. Being a much less compromised build, it's larger, it's heavier, has more glass, and obviously it's more expensive. It's of a much higher caliber in terms of image quality. But that is definitely not taking away from the RF 35. Unless you're doing any crazy pixel peeping or extreme cropping, you're really not going to notice the difference in sharpness. I did a shout out on my Instagram asking you guys what you wanted to know about the RF 35, and a lot of people wanted me to compare it to the Sigma 35-1.4, but sadly I don't own that lens anymore since I replaced it with the Tamron. But what I did do was compare the Tamron and the Sigma. They were really similar in terms of center sharpness. If you are interested in seeing that comparison, I'll leave it linked on the end screen, so just wait to the end of the video and you can check it out there. Chromatic aberrations, they're fairly well controlled on the Canon 1.8. The purple fringing looks a little bit more noticeable to me on the Tamron lens than on the Canon, but there isn't a huge difference between them. They both display aberrations wide open, and of course, these are fairly easy to get rid of in Lightroom or Photoshop. For the last half of the shoot, I used the Canon, and I was really happy with the photos we were able to get against this white wall with the yellow and white flowers. You try putting both knees up? Maybe? Yeah, that's cool. Yep. Nice. I'm done now. That's wicked. Good. I usually show edited photos in my tests so that you can get a feel for the overall final result. But if you want to see some raw unedited photos taken with this lens and take a look for yourself, then I've left a download link in the description. I also did a video test to show off the image stabilization. So here are some comparisons with the IS switched off, and then on. And then I also added the digital stabilization in the EOS R. And then I did one little test where I added some extra stabilization in post. So overall, the RF 35mm 1.8 IS STM is a fantastic lens. I love it. Overall image quality is amazing. It's lightweight, it's compact, and one of the best parts is that it's very, very affordable. If you don't think you'll miss the extra 2/3 stops of light over something like a 1.4, you like that it's lightweight and compact, and you also need image stabilization, maybe you shoot a lot of video, then this lens could be a great choice for you. This lens offers a similar value proposition to the older EF 35mm f2 IS. That being said, I can really see Canon bringing out a more premium 35mm lens, something with a maximum aperture of like 1.4 or even 1.2 possibly in the near future. And that's really going to help to round out their lens selection. I think it's definitely worth waiting to see what Canon's going to come out with next. Also, don't forget that the third-party manufacturers like Tamron and Sigma are probably making RF mount lenses right now. In the meantime, I'm happy to adapt my Tamron lens. It's fantastic and it served me really well in the few months that I've owned it so far. I want to say a massive thank you to Carlo, who filmed all the behind the scenes, and obviously to Nof, who was our model. I'll leave all of their links in the description down below. And my preset pack will also be linked if you want to pick that up, or if you just want to support the channel, that is a great way to do it. If you guys got something out of this video, it is free to leave a like down below, and it is very little effort, so I would really appreciate that. And I want to say thank you guys so much for joining me once again, and I'll see you in the next video.